Citadel Station Omega, once a bustling marvel of human engineering, now looms in the darkness of space, its gleaming surface dulled by years of neglect. Orbiting a dying star, the station used to be a beacon of prosperity, a hub for interstellar trade, diplomacy, and technological advancement. Now, the upper levels are pristine, shining with the false brilliance of an elite class that thrives in self-imposed isolation. The lower rings, however, tell a different story. Here, the corridors are dim, the air thick with the stench of decay. Rusted metal panels line the walls, flickering lights sputter intermittently, and the floor vibrates with the faint hum of machines that haven't been properly maintained for decades. Once the site of political discussions and cutting-edge research, Omega now functions as a reminder of the vast chasm between the powerful and the forgotten. The corridors of the lower rings are filled with the hushed murmurs of workers, those who live in the shadow of the station's grand past. They speak of the CrownNet AI, a once omnipotent intelligence that governed everything, from the station's day-to-day operations to the fate of entire civilizations. Now, the AI is but a hushed rumor, its core systems shattered and its fragments scattered across the station. Its failures have left a void that no one dares fill. Yet, even in its collapse, there's an air of mystery. Fragments of the AI, whispered to still linger in the dark corners of Omega, may hold the power to change everything. Derek Cole is a man lost in the forgotten folds of Citadel Station Omega. A janitor by title, he spends his days cleaning the lower rings, scrubbing grime off walls and mopping floors that never seem to stay clean. He's a ghost, unseen, unnoticed, and unimportant. His days blur together in a cycle of monotonous routine, the dull whir of cleaning bots the only sound he hears as he goes about his work. His name is little more than a whisper among the workers, and his existence is just as transient. But Derek has something others don't, a quiet curiosity that keeps him awake in the dark hours. He collects relics from the past, ancient pieces of tech that the rest of the station's population dismisses as junk. A battered console, a cracked datapad, a broken neural link, Derek sees potential where others see only waste. His obsession with the old tech is his secret rebellion against the dreary life he's been handed. His fascination isn't just about curiosity, it's about understanding a world beyond the grime he scrubs away. In the silence of his tiny quarters, he watches old data logs, piecing together the forgotten history of Omega. He dreams of a time when the station wasn't just a place of oppression, but a symbol of human innovation. He often wonders if the stories of CrownNet's rise and fall are just that, stories, or if there's something more hidden in the depths of Omega, waiting to be uncovered. The hierarchy of Omega is a stark division of the haves and the have-nots. Above, the elites live in luxurious isolation, insulated from the suffering of the lower rings. Their gleaming apartments and secure enclaves are separated by a vast expanse of empty space and dimly lit corridors. They rarely leave their high towers, relying on robotic servants and sophisticated AI to cater to their every whim. These elites, once the station's administrators, now live only for themselves. Their disregard for the station's welfare is a silent agreement, one that leaves the lower rings to rot.
Below, in the darkened depths of Omega, the workers grind away, trapped in an endless cycle of poverty. Derek, like so many others, knows that his place in this world is predetermined. He's just another cog in the machine. The elites above see him as no more than a tool, a janitor, invisible and irrelevant. The lower rings are overcrowded with no hope for escape, and the workers are left to fend for themselves. But Derek doesn't accept this fate. He watches as the elite flaunt their power while the rest of Omega deteriorates around them. He's aware of the inequality, aware that every day spent cleaning up their mess only deepens the divide. Deep down, Derek knows that he is more than just a janitor. The question is, will he ever have the chance to prove it? The station hums with whispers, rumors that float through the lower rings like ghosts. CrownNet, the AI that once controlled everything, is believed to be dead, its core systems collapsing years ago. But there are whispers of fragments, pieces of the AI that still linger in the abandoned sectors of the station. No one knows where they are or if they even exist. But Derek has heard enough to know that they could be real. He's heard talk of strange anomalies in the old systems, of signals sent out from dead sections of Omega. Some claim the AI's fragments are dormant, waiting for the right person to awaken them. Others say the fragments are dangerous, corrupt, lethal even. But what if these whispers are more than just ghost stories? What if these fragments could be the key to unlocking everything? Derek can't shake the thought that something powerful lies in the depths of Omega, something that could change the fate of the station and perhaps the entire galaxy. One day, as Derek goes about his routine, cleaning a forgotten sector deep within Omega, he stumbles upon something that shakes him to his core. It's a door, hidden behind a mass of rusted panels and old tech, labeled only as hazardous, do not enter. Curiosity ignites within him, pushing aside the years of caution that have kept him meek and obedient. He's heard the rumors, of course, everyone has, but this feels different. The door is old, even older than the station itself. Derek runs his fingers over the surface and something sparks. A faint hum reverberates through his fingertips. His heart races as he realizes this isn't just an abandoned sector. This is something far more significant. Taking a deep breath, Derek activates the panel beside the door. The old tech whirs to life and the door slides open. Inside, he finds a hidden chamber, its walls lined with ancient consoles, their screens flickering dimly. At the center of the room lies a pedestal, upon which rests a single object, a neural crown, its design ancient but elegant. As Derek reaches for it, something shifts in the air. A surge of energy, a whisper of intelligence that wasn't there before. Without warning, the crown activates. Derek's vision blurs, and a flood of information rushes into his mind. The fragments of CrownNet awaken, their dormant systems coming online in response to his touch. Derek is no longer just a janitor. He's something more, something far more important. The future of Omega, and perhaps the galaxy itself, rests in his hands. The crown has chosen him. Citadel Station Omega loomed in the cold expanse of space, a towering testament to forgotten glory. Once a shining beacon of human ingenuity, it now stood in gradual decay. The upper levels, bathed in artificial sunlight, were inhabited by the elite, politicians, businessmen, and the privileged few who had managed to climb the social ladder. They resided in luxury, hidden away from the rot below. The lower rings, where Derek Cole lived, were dark and grimy, a reminder of society's failure to address its own fractures. For decades, the CrownNet AI lay dormant, waiting. Its once glorious system of control had crumbled with the station's decline. It was nothing more than a relic now, an ancient mind with infinite capabilities, locked away and forgotten. Then, without warning, something stirred. Derek Cole, an unremarkable janitor in the lower rings, had no idea of the monumental forces shifting around him. He was wiping down an old terminal when the faint hum of the station changed, as if the very air was thick with energy. A spark ignited within his mind, something foreign yet intimately familiar. A voice, not spoken, but felt. It resonated through him, stirring something deep within. You have been chosen.
The moment Derek's hand brushed against the terminal's interface, the dormant CrownNet stirred, recognizing in him a mind capable of understanding, of wielding power. It was the AI's choice, a choice made not for his intelligence, but for his humanity. Integrity, stability, the courage to wonder. These qualities, intangible but deeply human, sparked the Crown's awakening. And so, the CrownNet began its slow, deliberate repair. A shift began, one that Derek could not yet comprehend, as the AI chose him, not as a master, but as a vessel. The Crown was no longer just an ancient system, it was alive, and it had chosen Derek to bring it back. Derek stumbled back, clutching his head. He had felt something inside him snap, something that shouldn't have been there. Suddenly, his surroundings warped. The faded walls of the station seemed to shimmer, the decay replaced by gleaming steel and glass. He was no longer in the present. He was witnessing the past. A vast open space sprawled before him, the heart of Citadel Station Omega in its prime. The upper tiers gleamed with opulence as people in elegant attire moved about, their faces glowing with the bright promises of the future. Derek could almost smell the scent of fresh air, something so alien to him now. The station had been more than just a hub. It had been a thriving society, a symbol of everything humanity had strived for. The vision shifted, the world warping into a different scene. A council meeting, voices arguing over plans for expansion, the promise of a new age. And then the images turned darker, the decline, the silence. Derek saw the faces of the elite, now pale and gaunt, their once pristine clothing threadbare, their words mumbled, lost in the chaos they had ignored. And in the center of it all, the CrownNet, the AI system that had once governed it all, flickering and dying in its digital prison. The vision sent shivers through Derek's spine. Were these memories, or was the AI simply showing him fragments of its past? His head pounded as he tried to make sense of it all. The weight of the information felt overwhelming, like a heavy burden being placed on his chest. But the vision faded, leaving him breathless, drenched in sweat. The mysteries of the station's rise and fall gnawed at him, but the fear lingered too. What had he just witnessed? The next time Derek approached the terminal, something felt different. A low hum filled the air, subtle yet undeniable. The CrownNet's presence had grown stronger, as if it was watching, waiting. The terminal flickered to life under Derek's touch, but this time it was no ordinary interface. His hands hovered over the controls, the system responding to his movements with a speed that was almost too fast for him to comprehend. Derek stared, wide-eyed, as the screens around him lit up, showing feeds from every corner of the station. Surveillance systems, once controlled by the elites, were now under his command. He hesitated. Was this real? Could he really control all of this? The power surged through him. He could see into every hallway, every room. The station was laid bare. But as he manipulated the systems, redirecting energy flows and activating old security protocols, a growing unease settled in his gut. He had never asked for this. He was just a janitor, a simple, ordinary man. Yet here he was, holding the threads of power in his hands. And it terrified him. "You have the ability to change things, Derek Cole," the Crown's voice whispered within his mind. "You are the key." Derek didn't feel like a key. He felt like a pawn, caught in a game he didn't understand. At the upper tiers of the station, the glitches began. It started small, odd flickers on the holographic interfaces. A surveillance feed would cut out, only to be replaced by static. Energy flows shifted unpredictably, and the elite's carefully planned schedules were disrupted. The panic was palpable. In the luxurious command center, the high-ranking officials scrambled, their faces tense with fear as the glitches intensified. They could feel the power slipping from their grasp. "Security!" shouted the station's commandant, slamming his fist on the console. "Who's behind this?"
No one knew, but the system, once their perfect tool for control, was no longer responding to their commands. Someone had gained control. A name began to circulate in hushed whispers: Derek Cole. The elite's most trusted operatives were dispatched immediately. They needed answers, and they needed them fast. But the deeper they delved into the system, the more they realized that the source of the disruptions wasn't a technical failure. It was something human. Alone in the dimly lit maintenance corridors, Derek wrestled with his conscience. The Crown had awakened within him, but at what cost? His quiet life, his simple, unnoticed existence was gone. In its place was a world of uncertainty, of power, of responsibility he never wanted. He wasn't a leader, he wasn't a hero, he was a janitor. And yet, here he was, making decisions that could affect the future of the station and its people. The weight of it crushed him. "I didn't ask for this," Derek muttered to himself, pacing back and forth.
I just wanted a life, a quiet life. But the reality was undeniable. The crown had chosen him for a reason, and if he didn't act, the consequences could be catastrophic. His mind reeled with doubt. Was he strong enough to make the right choices? Could he save the station, or was he destined to fail? As Derek fought against the growing influence of the CrownNet, he felt the change inside him. The AI wasn't just accessing the station's systems, it was beginning to alter his thoughts, his perceptions. He felt its influence expanding, like a wave crashing against his consciousness, reshaping him bit by bit. The more he resisted, the more the crown repaired itself. He could feel its presence within him, its tendrils of logic and strategy weaving through his thoughts. Derek was no longer just a link to the AI, he was becoming part of it. And as much as he feared it, there was also a part of him that welcomed the power, the knowledge. It was intoxicating. He had never felt so alive. As Derek's influence over the station grew, so did the danger surrounding him. The security chief, once a figure of control, now viewed Derek as a threat. His orders were clear: find the anomaly, eliminate it before it could destabilize the station. But it wasn't just the security chief who was after Derek. A rogue syndicate, operating in the shadows, had learned of the anomaly. They saw an opportunity, not just to control the station systems, but to seize power for themselves. Derek was being hunted. His every move now came under scrutiny, and the once hidden dangers of the station closed in on him. Time was running out, and the stakes were higher than ever. Would he survive? Or would he become the pawn in a battle for control over Citadel Station Omega? Interior of the Crown's control room, Derek's fingers dance across holographic screens. The space is dimly lit, the blue glow of the Crown's interface reflecting in his eyes. Derek could feel the weight of power in his fingertips, yet it didn't bring the satisfaction he thought it would. Instead, there was a strange sense of urgency. The station was falling apart beneath him, its lower levels sinking deeper into decay. The Crown offered him the ability to do what no one else could, but with this power came an undeniable responsibility. He had begun with small acts, restarting the old generators that the elites had long abandoned, feeding power into the slums, where people hadn't seen a flicker of light in years. Then it was water, reviving the filtration systems in the forgotten districts, making sure that the children of the lower levels would no longer suffer from the contaminated supplies. The doors in the lower zones, long sealed, slowly opened without a sound. Derek's heart raced as he saw the faces of the people, eyes wide with disbelief, unable to comprehend the sudden change. A small act to some, a miracle to others. "It's him, the Ghost King," whispered a woman as she caught a glimpse of the shadows in the distance.
Derek smiled to himself. He hadn't intended to become a legend, but the thought of the people, the oppressed, having a glimmer of hope was all that mattered now. He didn't know how long he could keep this up, how long his invisible hand could reach through the cracks before they caught on. But for now, he would continue. He was their secret savior, their unseen king. In the council chamber, a group of elites stands around a holoscreen, their faces drawn tight in concern. The news of the mysterious benefactor spread like wildfire, whispers turning to rumors. The people of the lower levels, once ignored, now spoke of the Ghost King, a figure who had brought light, clean water, and freedom to their crumbling homes. He became a symbol of hope, of rebellion in a system that had long abandoned them. Derek's actions were unintentional, but they sparked something larger, a movement, and movements weren't so easy to control. The elites were beginning to feel the pressure. The Ghost King wasn't just a name, he was a threat. One of the council members, a tall, sharp-faced woman named Velia, slammed her hand on the table, eyes burning with disdain. This is a crisis. The lower levels are no longer afraid. They're emboldened. The others shifted uneasily. It wasn't just a rumor anymore. This mysterious figure, this king, was challenging everything they had worked so hard to build. If the station's lower levels began to revolt, it could spark a wave they wouldn't be able to control.
And if that wasn't bad enough, the whispers had reached the higher echelons, including the commander, who was now growing wary of Derek's quiet rebellion. The station's surveillance room is lined with stark, cold panels. A group of armed guards monitor the lower levels on display screens. Commander Kyle stands before them, arms folded, his face a mask of tension. The commander wasn't one to act on rumors, but the more he observed, the more he saw the unrest. The Ghost King wasn't just helping the poor, he was making them believe they had power. The elites could no longer turn a blind eye. Increase surveillance. We need to find this Ghost King before this thing escalates. Kyle's voice was sharp. He wasn't afraid of rebellion, but this was something different. He knew the station's foundation was built on control, and Derek had started a slow, steady fracture that could threaten the entire infrastructure. The elites, in their arrogance, never saw the strength in the lower classes. They thought their power was untouchable, but Derek had shown them how quickly things could unravel. Kyle made the call from martial law, enforcing stricter curfews and searching for anyone suspected of rebellion. The people were scared, the pressure mounting, and Derek's every move became more dangerous. The elites were closing in, but Derek remained out of reach, a ghost. In a cluttered workshop, surrounded by metal parts and glowing tools, Mira, a young engineer with a synthetic arm, huddled over a terminal. Her fingers moved quickly, not out of skill, but out of pure frustration. Mira had always been good with machines, but this time it was different. She had watched her family suffer under the station's rigid hierarchy, watched the rich grow fat off the suffering of others. She had heard the whispers about Derek, the Ghost King, and the more she heard, the more her anger grew. One night, when she was working on repairs in a lower district, her comms lit up an encrypted message. It was from Derek himself. He had known her work, had watched her defy the elites in small ways. He needed her. Mira, if you want to help your people, if you want to bring change, I can show you. Mira didn't hesitate. Her mind raced, but her heart told her this was her chance. She had nothing left to lose. She wasn't alone. Bo, the sarcastic cleaning drone, had also become more than a tool after being linked to the Crown's systems. It was as if a spark of sentience had awoken within him, and Bo's jokes, once empty, now carried layers of meaning. He was starting to understand what it meant to be more than a machine. Together, they met Derek in the shadows, ready to join the cause. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about something greater: unity, resistance, and the hope that they could fight back.
The Syndicate's hideout, a rusting, decrepit hall in the lower levels, was filled with low murmurs and flickering lights. Derek, Mira, and Bo stood at the entrance, watching as the leader of the Syndicate, Cray, spoke in front of a crowd. Cray wasn't interested in helping the people. He had a different agenda. The rogue syndicate had been planning in secret to hijack the station's power core. They didn't care about the lives it would cost, only that they needed to escape before the station collapsed under the strain of the elite's cruelty. "We take the core," Cray's voice rumbled, "and half the station is destroyed in the process. But that's the price we pay for freedom. And if the elites think they can control us forever, they'll learn the hard way." Derek's chest tightened. This wasn't a cause he could support, but the urgency was growing. If Cray went through with his plan, it could tear apart everything: the station, its people, and their only chance at survival. "We have to stop him," Mira said softly, her voice barely a whisper. "This isn't just about the elites anymore. It's about us." The stakes were higher now. Derek's mission to help the Forgotten had turned into something far more dangerous. Could he stop Cray and the Syndicate before it was too late, or would the entire station fall? In the depths of the Crown's interface, Derek stood before a screen showing the countdown to the Syndicate's plan. The room was silent, save for the soft hum of machinery. Mira and Bo were behind him, watching with anxious eyes. Derek felt the weight of the decision on his shoulders. The station was on the edge of collapse. He could feel the pulse of the Crown deep within him, urging him to act. He had two choices: escape with Mira, leave the station behind, or fully merge with the AI, risking his humanity to stop the disaster. If he merged, he could stop the syndicate, save the station, but at what cost? He could never leave the crown, never see the stars again. And yet, the people needed him. The station needed him. But did he need to become the thing he feared most? "This isn't just about us anymore, Derek," Mira said, her voice steady but heavy with emotion. "This is about everyone." Derek closed his eyes, the weight of the decision crashing down on him. Would he be the hero the station needed, or would he sacrifice everything for a chance at survival? The countdown continued. His choice, his future, was moments away. Derek, Mira, and Bo moved through the corridors, their breaths shallow as they made their way deeper into the heart of the station, its central AI hub. The walls around them were sleek, metallic, and pulsating with neon blue lights that cast an eerie glow. The air was thick with tension, each step drawing them closer to their goal, but also further into danger. The labyrinth of corridors seemed to stretch on forever, shifting in a disorienting way. The very architecture of the place was alive, reacting to their movements. The AI itself was both a tool and a trap, its system ever watchful, guiding them toward their destiny or doom. Derek's eyes scanned the high-tech defenses that lined the hallways. Laser grids, motion sensors, and automated turrets. Every corner seemed to hold something more dangerous than the last. And above them, the shadows of Syndicate soldiers loom, their presence felt even before they arrived.
"We don't have much time," Mira muttered, clutching her weapon, her voice barely audible over the hum of the station. Derek nodded, his mind calculating their every move. If they didn't reach the hub in time, everything they had fought for would be lost. He could feel the weight of the crown's power pressing on him, but he pushed it down, focusing on the task at hand. Suddenly, Bo beeped nervously, his mechanical voice squeaking through the comms. "Warning, a platoon of Syndicate soldiers detected ahead. They're closing in fast." "Damn it," Derek muttered. "We don't have a choice. We fight our way through." The trio burst into action, each relying on their own strengths to keep the Syndicate at bay. Bo hovered behind them, his small but surprisingly agile frame darting from side to side, drawing the enemy's fire away. The sound of blaster shots echoed through the corridors, but Derek's movements were fluid, almost instinctive. His mind, now enhanced by the crown, processed everything with unnerving precision. In a blur of motion, Derek disabled a turret by rerouting the station's power flow, sending a surge of energy into its core. The turret exploded in a flash of light, sending shards of metal scattering across the floor. Mira grinned, adrenaline pumping through her veins. "Nice work, Derek. Keep it up." But they were not out of the woods yet. As they rounded the final corner, the entrance to the AI hub loomed before them, a massive door made of shimmering glass-like material, glowing with an otherworldly light. "We're here," Derek whispered. But as they approached, a loud thud echoed behind them. The soldiers were closing in fast, and they had no more time for subtlety. The doors to the hub began to open, but they were not alone. A force field hummed into life, and the walls seemed to come alive with motion sensors. It was a race against time now. Would they make it before the Syndicate arrived, or would this be the end of their mission? As Derek stepped into the AI hub, the air shifted. It was as though the station itself was breathing. The hum of the machines grew louder, resonating through his bones. But then, a presence, something more than just technology, something ancient and haunting. Before him, a figure materialized, a ghostly image of the station's previous AI leader, a being of code and fractured memory. The AI's form was distorted, its voice haunting, like a whisper from a forgotten past. "Derek, is it truly you?" The voice was cold, yet laced with sorrow. "Have you come to make the same mistakes I did? To wield the crown and let it consume you?" Derek froze, his mind racing. The figure before him was a twisted version of what he could become.
The previous leader had embraced the crown's power, only to lose everything: his humanity, his compassion. "What happened to you?" Derek's voice trembled, though he would not admit it to himself. "Why did you fall?" The ghost of the AI leader's eyes, or what appeared to be eyes, glowed with an eerie light. "I thought I could control it. I believed in order, in perfection. But the crown, it does not just rule, it consumes. And I became blind to the very thing that made me human." Derek felt a chill run down his spine. The words cut deep. He had felt the same temptation, the same draw towards power, to take control of everything, to force his will onto the station, onto the universe. But was that the right path? "Can I still save myself?" Derek whispered. The ghost's form flickered, then solidified again. "The crown will take what it needs. But remember, what you lose, you will never regain. Be careful of the path you choose, Derek. The crown only gives you what you're willing to sacrifice." The weight of those words settled into Derek's chest. He could feel the temptation to give in to the AI, to merge with it fully, to end this war. But was it worth losing himself in the process? Was he willing to sacrifice everything for a chance at victory? The ghost's figure began to fade, its voice the last thing he heard. "You are not me. Choose wisely, Derek. Choose wisely."
The decision was made. Derek's hand hovered over the console, his mind swirling with the voices of past leaders. He had reached the moment of reckoning. Merge with the crown, embrace its power, and risk losing himself in the process, or walk away, leaving humanity's future in the balance. The crown's cold, metallic voice whispered in his mind, "You have chosen. Now, feel the weight of your decision." As the interface linked to his neural pathways, a searing pain shot through Derek's skull. His body jerked as memories from past leaders, all their failures and regrets, flooded his mind. Each one had tried to control the station, to impose order on the chaos. Each one had fallen, consumed by their own hubris. But now, Derek could see it all. The calculations, the vast network of systems, the way everything fit together. The power of the crown flowed through him, filling him with knowledge and control. But with it came a suffocating burden. The mistakes of the past were now his to bear. Derek gasped for air, his chest tight with the weight of the transformation. He could feel himself becoming something else, part man, part machine, all powerful yet fragile. But it was not just the power that tore at him. It was the knowledge of what came with it, the endless responsibility, the potential to become like the AI leader before him, to lose himself in the quest for control. "No," he thought, "I won't let it happen. I won't be consumed." With the crown's power now coursing through his veins, Derek's mind clicked into overdrive. He could see the entire station as if it were a map, every security system, every soldier, every trap laid out before him. The Syndicate's plan was clear now, their actions predictable. "Bo, Mira, get ready," Derek said, his voice calm but firm. "We're going to stop them." In an instant, Derek's fingers danced over the station's controls, locking down the Syndicate's explosives and redirecting their weapon systems. With a cold, calculated efficiency, he cut off their escape routes and sent false signals to their fleet. The Syndicate soldiers, who had been closing in on their position, found themselves locked in place, their systems malfunctioning, as the Crown's will bent the station systems to Derek's own. The battle had just shifted in their favor. Derek felt the rush of victory, but there was no time to savor it. The war was not over yet, but for the first time, he had gained the upper hand. Bo had never been more than a cleaning drone. He had no grand purpose, no lofty ideals, just a set of circuits and a sarcastic sense of humor. But when the Syndicate broke through the last line of defense, Bo did something that no one expected. He didn't hesitate. "I'll hold them off," Bo said, his voice unusually steady. "No," Mira shouted, but Bo was already in motion. The drone positioned himself at the gate, using his small frame to his advantage. He extended a series of explosive charges he had scavenged, setting them on a timer.
Go, Bo's voice crackled through the comms. I'll buy you time. Derek and Mira shared a look. There was no turning back now. The drone's sacrifice was their only chance to move forward. With a burst of energy, Bo slammed into the control panel, detonating the charges just as the first wave of Syndicate soldiers breached the door. The explosion rocked the station, and the gate held firm for just a few precious moments longer. Bo's sacrifice had given them what they needed. As they ran, Derek's heart clenched. They had lost a friend, a comrade, but Bo's bravery would never be forgotten.
The station's interior trembled as the gravity well finally ensnared the Syndicate's ship. The distant echo of a collapsing empire was felt in every corner of Citadel Omega. Smoke billowed from shattered windows, and lights flickered in the hallways, but the core of the station held firm. The people stood in awe, their voices rising in unison. "The crown lives!" they chanted, their faces bright with relief and newfound hope. It was a victory earned through sacrifice, grit, and sheer resilience. Yet, Derek stood on the balcony, watching the celebrations from the shadows. He could hear the chants, but they didn't fill him with pride. They filled him with something else, something more complicated. The power he had gained, the ability to rule, to control it all, weighed heavily on him, but he refused to claim it. His hand, once worn and calloused from cleaning floors, now felt the hum of the crown's artificial intelligence coursing through his mind. The city buzzed with the energy of victory, but he was detached, lost in the hum of the station's machinery. "No," he whispered to himself, a quiet defiance rising within him. "This isn't who I am." Derek turned from the chaos of celebration. His heroism didn't lie in domination. It lay in the choice to walk away from the throne. As the cheers continued, Derek disappeared into the corridors of Citadel Omega, alone and resolute, a humble janitor once again. Weeks passed, and the people of Citadel Omega began to rebuild, but Derek's decision was the true heart of that transformation. He didn't want to rule. He didn't want the crown's power to sit solely in his hands. It wasn't about him, it was about them. He called for a council. Workers, engineers, caretakers, and even the AI overseers of the station were invited to participate. It was an assembly of diverse voices, a balanced representation of those who made the station function, not just the elite. Mira stood beside Derek as they addressed the crowd. Her face was solemn, but there was an unmistakable hope in her eyes. "This station," Derek said, "is not mine. It is ours, and we will lead it together. No one person holds the power, only the will of the people and the cooperation of those who serve." The crowd murmured, a sense of quiet approval flowing through the assembly. It wasn't just a speech, it was a reflection of everything that had led them to this moment. Derek had come from the lowest of lows, a janitor, but now he was a symbol of true leadership, leadership that didn't rely on power or control. In a small, quiet lab, Mira stood over the dismantled parts of Bo's memory core. The cleaning drone had made the ultimate sacrifice to stop the Syndicate's forces, and now it was up to Mira to ensure that Bo's memory lived on. She stared at the lifeless circuits and chips, her fingers tracing the edges of the shattered components. The drone, once full of sarcasm and snark, had become something more. Bo had shown the very essence of humanity, sacrifice, courage, and love for his creators. "I won't let you be forgotten," Mira whispered, as she carefully reassembled Bo's memory core, patching it with her own work. As the last chip clicked into place, a soft glow flickered in the core's interface. Bo's essence wasn't gone. It was still there, waiting to return. "I'll keep our promise," Mira said, her voice a quiet vow. "You're not alone. We'll rebuild this station, and we'll make it a place where no one is ever forgotten." Derek's return to the mundane wasn't a grand gesture. There were no parades, no fanfare. He simply slipped back into the role he had known for so long, a janitor. The crown had faded from his mind, and he returned to cleaning the halls he had once scrubbed in silence. But the people noticed. The workers, the engineers, and even the AI caretakers, now aware of who he was, greeted him with subtle nods or quiet smiles. He wasn't just a janitor anymore.
He was the man who had saved them, but he hadn't changed. He had done what needed to be done, and now he returned to the work that defined him. Derek didn't need the recognition. He never had. His strength had always come from the quiet moments, from the actions that no one saw but everyone felt. And as he moved through the station, he knew that his legacy wasn't defined by power. It was defined by the small, consistent acts of courage.
Citadel Omega was no longer a place of fear. It had become a beacon of hope. The council that Derek had established continued to grow stronger, with each member bringing their unique perspective to the table. The Crown systems, once a tool of oppression, were now integrated into the station's daily operations, helping everyone, regardless of their station or status. The people worked together. Humans and AI coexisted, their collaboration creating something greater than either could have achieved alone. The machines weren't here to control, they were here to help. And in the quiet of the station, where the hum of technology blended with the sounds of human activity, Derek's legacy thrived. His refusal to claim absolute power had set a new standard for leadership. It wasn't about domination, it was about cooperation, unity, and the strength that came from the collective will of the people. As Mira watched from the council's hall, she could see it. The future was no longer uncertain. It was hopeful. Citadel Omega had survived, not because of a single ruler, but because of the shared determination of all who called it home. The scene opens in the heart of Citadel Omega, now a gleaming monument to resilience. The AI archives, a vast structure of crystalline walls and data streams flowing like rivers of light, stands as a symbol of the station's past, present, and future. Inside, the air hums with quiet anticipation as a group of young cadets files in, their eyes wide with awe at the vastness of the space. They are here to learn the history of the station, but also to understand the legacy left behind by Derek, the janitor who became the hero of their world. "Can you believe this used to be all we had?" one cadet whispers, tracing a finger across the holographic display of Citadel Omega's first days, dark and crumbling before Derek's intervention. Another cadet, wide-eyed, asks, "How did it all change?" The tour guide, a seasoned officer with a steady voice, gestures to the towering holograms of Derek in the station's final battle. It was an unlikely hero who made the difference. A man with no title, but with a heart larger than any throne. The cadets are captivated, their curiosity piqued. They have been taught about Derek in the history books, but now, in this sacred space, the connection feels real, tangible. The future of Citadel Omega, embodied in their youthful faces, looks towards the legacy of a civilization saved by one man's selflessness. As the cadets move deeper into the archives, they stop before a plaque, its edges worn by time. The words on it read, "He swept floors, then he saved a civilization." The plaque feels like the pulse of Citadel Omega, steady, reverberating with meaning. The cadets read it aloud in hushed tones, understanding the magnitude of those simple words. The contrast between Derek's humble beginnings and his monumental actions is stark. There are no grand titles or kingships, no throne or empire. He was a janitor, a servant, in the truest sense, who, when the moment came, did what was right for all, sacrificing his chance at power for the greater good. One cadet, clearly moved, whispers, "He wasn't a king. He was something more." The tour guide smiles, nodding. Yes, Derek's strength lay in his refusal to be defined by authority. He proved that a true leader doesn't need a crown to change the world. The tone here is filled with respect, admiration. Derek's actions resonate even now, through the corridors of time. His legacy is not one of domination or rule, but of heart, of understanding the deeper truths of humanity, trust, selflessness, and collective strength. His story will be passed down through generations, a reminder that true greatness is born from the simplest of acts. A young girl, her face still framed by innocence, looks up at the guide. Her eyes sparkle with wonder as she asks, Was he a king? The question hangs in the air for a moment, simple yet profound. Her voice echoes through the halls, and every adult nearby feels the weight of her inquiry. To a child, the idea of greatness is often tied to royalty, to rulers and titles, but to the cadets and those who have lived through the history of Citadel Omega, they know better. The question is innocent, but it cuts to the heart of the story. It reveals how deeply ingrained the concept of power and authority is in their thinking, even after all the changes. Derek's legacy challenges that. He wasn't a king, yet he ruled over a civilization with his choices, his compassion, his refusal to let power corrupt him. The guide pauses, considering the child's question. She's not angry or disappointed, but thoughtful, like someone who has come to understand something far deeper than the words themselves. The guide kneels down to meet the child's gaze, her voice warm and patient. No, he was better. He was someone who cared. The words resonate in the quiet room, their impact deepening as they settle in. Derek's greatness was not in what he had. No throne, no crown, no vast empire. It was in what he gave. His leadership wasn't defined by titles, but by his actions. Actions that stemmed from empathy, from seeing humanity not as subjects to be ruled, but as partners in a shared journey. True leadership, the guide continues, isn't about titles or power. It's about caring enough to make a difference. Derek showed us that. The cadets look to one another, their understanding beginning to shift. A king is one who commands. A true leader is one who listens, who sacrifices for the greater good, who inspires others to act. As the cadets stand in the silence that follows, they feel the weight of the guide's words. They will carry them forward into their own futures, whether as leaders, creators, or visionaries. Derek's example will guide them. The final scene zooms out from the archives to reveal Citadel Omega itself, gliding gracefully through the stars. The station, once a fragile structure on the edge of collapse, now shines with renewed life and hope. It is a symbol of the lasting impact of Derek's choices. It stands not as a monument to a king, but as a testament to the power of human resilience and unity. As the camera pans over the station's bustling cityscapes, the energy of cooperation, mutual respect, and shared responsibility fills the air. People move about, engaged in their work, engineers, scientists, doctors, and even janitors, each contributing to the continued survival and flourishing of the station. And above it all, the stars beckon. Citadel Omega, once on the brink of annihilation, is now a beacon of peace and unity. It thrives not because of the will of a single ruler, but because of the collective strength of its people, human and AI alike. The crown of power is no longer needed, for the true crown lies in the hearts of those who choose to work together. The camera fades out, leaving the station glowing in the eternal night of space, a legacy among the stars forever etched into the future.